Hey, what is going on, everybody? It is Luke Beller with a Sideline Scoop. So in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the Philadelphia Eagles, take a look at their team overall, take a look at Carson Wentz, and basically give my take on whether I think the Eagles will win the NFC East in 2020. Hey, what is going on, everybody? Hope all you guys are having a good day so far. So I'm going to be breaking down the Eagles today. If you guys are new to this channel, welcome. On this channel, I talk about the NFL as well as fantasy football. So if you're into either of those things, make sure you subscribe to the channel down below. All right, guys. So now let's get into the content today. As you guys can tell, I got a mic the other day. I honestly have no idea if it's working correctly right now. I just sort of plugged it into my computer. So hopefully the audio sounds better. Let me know below, actually, if you hear any difference. Maybe I haven't set it up correctly. I honestly have no clue at all about that, basically. But yeah, so all right, so now let's take a look at the Eagles. So when we take a look at the Eagles from last season, you can see the standings right here, right in front of your eyes. And so as most of you know, Eagles won the NFC East last year, 9-7. They won their final 4 games, beating out the Cowboys. I remember last season, the Eagles and the Cowboys were pretty close. In the end of the season, there are tons of different scenarios that were going on, but the Eagles ended up beating the Cowboys out and, made it to the playoffs. And so now when we take a look at this 2020 team, I think lots of people are wondering, who do you think is going to win the NFC East? Is it going to be the Eagles? Is it going to be the Cowboys? And I think that it's going to be a pretty close call. If you take a look at these odds right here, I got a tab saved right here. So if we take a look at the odds for basically the odds of, which team will win the NFC East here, you can see all the different sports books here that give their odds. And most of them have the Dallas Cowboys with plus 100. Mostly right here, as you can see, and the Eagles as like plus 140. So basically the sports books are favoring the Cowboys right now, but I saw that lots of people are favoring the Eagles. A lot more people are taking the Eagles to win, like people betting. So that's an interesting thing to look at. And of course, then we have the Giants and the Redskins down here, plus 900, plus 1200, plus 1500 there. Crazy. But yeah, there's not much competition, I'd say, with the Cowboys and the Eagles. So I'd say that it's going to be a close one. So let's take a look at this Eagles team coming into 2020. So of course we have, why is this screen all there? There we go. So, of course, we have Carson Wentz at the helm of this Eagles offense in 2020. Then we take a look at his stats from last year. 4,039 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And that's not his QB rating. His QB rating was, I think, a 93 right here. I don't know what that number is. Weird number. I don't know. But anyways, Carson Wentz had a great season last year. And I think that, overall their receivers were pretty banged up. I think their leading receiver had like 500 yards receiving, which isn't good considering, that was their leading receiver. Because what Sean Jackson, Alshon Jeffrey, tons of guys were injured. And the fact that Carson Wentz was still able to put out 4,000 yards with those, pretty bad options in 2019, I think it just shows how good Carson Wentz is. And I think that some people forget just how talented he is and sort of how elite he can be. When he's playing at his best, when he's not injured, because he can be injured. He's been injured a lot in the past. But like in 2018, beginning of that season, 2017, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I think that he can return to being like a top 5 quarterback, top 10 quarterback, probably top 5, I bet, in the 2020 season. So if we take a look at some of the basically players that or just basically the receiving core of the Eagles and coming into 2020, you have Jalen Reagor. They basically picked him in the first round of the draft this year. And he's a guy from TCU, a very fast guy, 4.47 40. And he basically stretches the field and gives Carson Wentz, a young guy who's a very, strong deep threat. And that will definitely elevate, I think, the Eagles offense in general and Carson Wentz as well. So that's a guy who will be exciting to look out for in 2020. And then, of course, you have Deshaun Jackson. Last year, he was injured a lot. Hopefully in 2020, he can stay healthy. He's getting a little bit older, but I still think he is a great receiver and will allow Carson Wentz to continue to play very well. And then, of course, you have Alshon Jeffrey, who is a guy who's getting a lot older, but he's still, I think he still has the ability to play. He got injured a bit last year as well. And then the Eagles acquired Marquise Goodwin this offseason. Last season, Marquise Goodwin, he ended the season on the IR with the 49ers, but the Eagles decided to pick him up. I don't know if they trade for him? I don't remember exactly. I don't have all the correct information, but they basically have Marquise Goodwin now, and that's basically, they have him now, and that is the important part. And they signed him to like a 1-year, $1.35 million contract with like $1 million in incentives. And so it's basically a guy who's like a low risk, high reward guy. He has like similar abilities to Deshaun Jackson. I think he will be a good weapon on this Eagles offense. Also, we have John Hightower, who the Eagles picked in the 5th round. He's actually faster than Reagor. So that's a bonus point for John Hightower. So overall, I think when you take a look at this Eagles offense, I think that the receiving core is going to be much better than last season, considering last year they had like 20 guys from the practice squad that dressed during the season. And so they just had tons of, just not the most ideal receiving core, but this season guys are back and healthy. Hopefully they can stay healthy. They've added some good weapons to support Carson Wentz in this offense. So I think that is a plus for the receiving core and for Carson Wentz. And then when we take a look at the Eagles offensive line, I think it's this tab right here. Let's take a look. I was basically just scrolling through looking at some information, but so we see here Eagles revamped offensive line lands in the top 10 of a ranking of all 32 NFL teams entering the 2020 season. And I think this is talking about basically, I think PFF, Pro Football Focus, they like to rank lots of people. And so they ranked the Eagles offensive line in the top 10, even though they lost, Jason Peters, but now he's back again because, Brandon Brooks, yeah, because he tore his Achilles tendon recently. And so that was a big blow to this offensive line. But I think now you have Jason Peters coming back, and people still seem to think that this Eagles offensive line can still be like a top 10 offensive line in the NFL. So I guess that's good news if you're an Eagles fan. And then one other thing, I don't think this is the right. Yeah. They were basically rated as one of the highest graded offensive lines in 2019 also. So that's an important thing to take a look at. Then, of course, one of the other biggest keys on this offense right now, if it'll let me click, I'm trying to click below this here. Move. All right, I got to maneuver. I'm using Zoom right now because it allows me to share my screen. There could be a better option. I don't know, but that's what I'm doing right now anyways. Okay, so Miles Sanders last season, 2019 was his rookie season, and now we're coming into 2020, and I expect a lot from him in 2020. Lots of people do as well, especially people who keep up with fantasy football. Miles Sanders is like a top 10 ranked back basically now, and so lots of people sort of are excited to see what he can do in the 2020 season. Because if we take a look to last season, he was behind Jordan Howard at the beginning of the season. So for the first 1 through 9 weeks, he played in 55% of the offensive snaps, had 76 attempts, 336 yards, 1 rushing touchdown, 22 receptions, and 305 receiving yards. And then it wasn't until the second half of the season when he really started to get a bulk of the carries. He had 71% of offensive snaps. And so from week 11 on, so what's that, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 6 or 7 or 8 games, something like that. He had 103 attempts, 482 yards, 2 touchdowns, 28 receptions, 204 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he really progressed coming in later into the season. And I think he would have finished the 8th best fantasy running back in that stretch last year. So that's why people are picking him then. Anyways, little fantasy football side note for anyone who's interested. But yeah, basically he's a very good back. And I think that coming in 2020, now Carson Wentz has a guy like Miles Sanders. He had him last year too, but he's back. And so I think overall this Eagles offense is going to be much better in 2020. I think that Carson Wentz is going to have a great year. I think they have a pretty solid offensive line still, even though they have a few injuries. The receiving core is much better than last year, and they have a great running back in Miles Sanders. So I think overall this offense is going to be one to watch in the 2020 season. And then when we take a look at this Eagles defense, they were pretty solid last year. They were 10th in yards allowed with about 331 per game. Here are the Eagles. So you can see here the Eagles and Cowboys are pretty similar. When it came to defensive ranks last year, the Cowboys allowed 327 yards per game. Eagles 331 yards per game. And also the Eagles defense was 15th in points allowed with about 22 points per game over here, as you can see. So I think they're in the top, probably the top half when it comes to defenses last season. And then if we take a look at some of the additions and changes they made in this offseason, they added Pro Bowl caliber shutdown cornerback Darius Slay from the Detroit Lions. They traded for him in this offseason, so he's really going to help he's going to be a great cornerback on this team. And they also signed Javon Hargrave to a 3-year, $39 million contract. He is a great defensive lineman. He will be really help boost that defensive line because they have one of the greatest pass rushes in the league with Fletcher Cox, Hargrave, Graham, and what's his name? Barrett. I think that's what his name is. So I think this defensive line is going to be good in the 2020 season. So overall, yeah, I guess they lost safety Malcolm Jenkins to the Saints in this offseason. That's going to be a light blow to this team. But overall, I think people think that their defense will be somewhat similar to where they were last year. They lost some guys in important positions, but they also gained some guys as well. And so overall, I think this defense will be in the top half of the league. We'll have to see how will they play in 2020. But that's basically the overview of both these sides of the ball. And when it comes to can they really win the NFC East, I think it's going to be a close one. I think the Cowboys are going to have a great team with Dak Prescott. They have a great receiving core there with Amari Cooper, Gallup, all those guys, CeeDee Lamb. They have a great, and of course Ezekiel Elliott. So I think that it's going to be a battle for the NFC East. I think it's going to be a close one. Personally, I want the Eagles to win. I really just don't like the Cowboys. Sorry if you're a Cowboys fan and you're watching this. I'm a Packers fan, as you can tell. Like, sort of see behind me, I'm a Packers fan. But when I was younger, because I grew up in Dallas, my mom was born in Wisconsin, and so basically I grew up a Packers fan because she was from Wisconsin. So all my friends would always, whenever the Packers would play the Cowboys and the Cowboys would win, you know, that got rubbed in my face all the time. So from a young age, I started hating the Cowboys, and that's basically that backstory. You probably didn't need to know that, but now you know, so there you go. But anyways, that's basically going to be the breakdown for this video. If you guys watch all this, I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. If you want to see some more NFL content in the future, make sure you subscribe to the channel down below. And thank you to you guys if you subscribed recently. We're gaining some subscribers on this channel. We're at like 48 now, I think. I've been doing consistent videos for like a month and a half now or so, or maybe 2 months now. And so it's nice to see some more people coming to watch some videos. So I appreciate you guys for watching. And if you guys are still watching, I would appreciate if you drop a comment below of like any other kinds of types of videos you want to see, any other specific things you want to see from this channel in the future. I'd love to take a look at those comments and yeah, just take a look at that basically. But if you guys enjoyed this video, I appreciate if you like it down below. That's going to be the sorry, sometimes I can't speak, but I'm not really going to edit this part. So that's going to be all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys on the next one.